Flat out, I don't beat around the bush. I just tell them, you're going to run out of money if you keep doing what you're doing. And if you're not going to listen, then maybe you shouldn't be a client. And those are the tough conversations that you have to have. And I think after it's all said and done, you feel better as the advisor. And I think the client feels better as well. At least they know you have their best interests in mind. You're not just selling them on a dream. Had an opportunity to go to USC on a full scholarship playing football.
You move on to the NFL.
It was I wouldn't say a culture shock, but it definitely changed the way I viewed the game. It's not a game anymore, it's a business.
You consciously made a decision. I have a cutoff date.
If you understand what it takes to make it in the NFL, the dedication, the time, the commitment, you can't work a full-time job and play in the NFL. You have to be all in. That's when I kind of ventured into doing my own real estate brokerage.
And what happens?
Then of course the market crashed.
Of course it did.
Right? So
you call me up. It's 9:30 at night. It's Rashard Cook. Oh, hey, Junior. I need to tell you something, but I didn't even want it to happen, but it happened. I'm like, dude, just spit it out. What happened? Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Again, this is Ray Lucia Jr., and I want to welcome everybody back to a fantastic episode of Vaulted Views. Today, I'm going to introduce to you a good friend of mine, Rashard Cook, and we're going to talk about his journey from growing up in Southern California to going to college and playing college ball, Division I college ball, being blessed with the opportunity to play professional NFL football, and all the way through a couple ups and downs to becoming a financial advisor and ultimately a head coach of a local Catholic high school. And so with that, let's meet Rashard Cook.
Well, that was my whole story. That's done.
I did it for you.
You did it for me.
Well, we should just drink some bourbon instead. We'll do the whole episode on this beautiful Pinhook 5-year, double blended, straight Kentucky whiskey. Did I get that one right?
Very smooth.
It's smooth. It's so, it's so smooth. It's Rashard Cook smooth.
Yes.
So let's get into it, Rashard. I mean, let's you have a very interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
Family man.
Right.
You basically have a basketball team of a family. You got 5 kids.
Yes, that's true. So yeah. So like going back to, like you said, I'm a local Southern California kid, grew up in Los Angeles, moved down to San Diego when I was 9-10 years old.
Yeah.
My father got a job down here. Also kind of crazy. We spent some time in Saudi Arabia during the summers as my father was working out there, a long time ago in the mid 80s and during the free trade where it was hard to find a job in Los Angeles. So all of a sudden he's working in Saudi Arabia. So we spent summers out there.
Wait, you spent summers in Saudi.
Yes.
And winters in San Diego.
There you go. Well, it was Los Angeles then.
Oh, sorry,
then,
LA.
Yeah, then Los Angeles. But then once we moved down here, I found a job down here. So that's when we moved to San Diego. I think it was 1985. So I've been here ever since. Went to high school, had a great time. Went to Morris High School, local high school in Southeast San Diego, where met a lot of my friends that I have today, some of my best friends, and also met my wife there as well. So fond memories of that place. And then had an opportunity to go to USC on a full scholarship playing football. So that was a great time in my life. That was back in, the kids make it sound like it's old. That's back in the 1900s, 1995.
You're an old man.
Yeah, so I'm like an old man now. So that's 1995 to 1999, where I played football there and graduated in 98 and then transitioned.
So full ride
to the NFL, yeah.
The USC, Southern California. That's crazy. That's like every parent's dream.
It is.
Kid, not just to get a scholarship, even an academic scholarship is a great dream, but an athletic scholarship.
It is. You don't realize it when you're into it. Like as I reflect now and look back, you realize how big that is. I was one of 4 kids, biological kids. We also did foster care and adopted some other kids. So it's like we had a big family, and my parents couldn't afford to send everybody to college. So I had 2 older brothers in college then, and for me to get a full scholarship was a blessing for the family.
Oh, good job! Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And so, just to kind of level set on the for those Trojans out there, where they're trying to like mentally figure out, all right, well, when did Rashard play? Like, this is your opportunity to name drop, right? Yeah. So who was on your team or before you, after you, when you were at USC?
Yeah. So Durham, I always go back, and I know a lot of people, they like the big names, the Heisman Trophy winners, the first round draft picks. So my freshman year was Keyshawn Johnson's senior year. That year, we had an opportunity to play in a Rose Bowl against Northwestern. They were the Cinderella team that shocked the world and came out. I mean, Disneyland was laying out the red carpet for them. They had all these guys that, it was like a magical year. They hadn't been historically really good. And we had a really good year, so we both met up in the Rose Bowl. And that was my freshman year. And then my senior year, we weren't as good. But we had a young kid on the team.
Your defense was pretty good, though,
The
right?
defense was good. No, the defense was phenomenal.
Because you played corner?
I played safety.
Safety?
So, yeah, the defense was really good. Offense wasn't scoring that many points. That's what it was. But my senior year we had a young guy that just came in, Orange County quarterback, just the typical USC, Orange County, tall, 6'5", rifle arm quarterback, and that was Carson Palmer. Who went on to be the number 1 overall pick when he came out. So my career was bookended by number 1 picks, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. You get to spend any time with those guys while you're there? Or?
Yeah, definitely hung out. Keyshawn was a little older, but he's one of those guys that was a good teammate. He was a captain. He was a leader. So he took guys under the wing. The funny story is, I remember I just got in. We drove up from San Diego to L.A., I went to go pick up my gear. You got to go see the equipment guy to get all your gear. You get fitted for your helmet and everything. And I remember there was somebody back there. I didn't know who it was. I knew of Keyshawn Johnson. I didn't know who he was though. But he was in the back in the equipment room. And while I'm getting my helmet fitted and shoulder pads fitted, he's like, "Hey, you might want to get a neck roll." I was like, "Who was that?" And it was Keyshawn Johnson. He's like, "Yeah, because you're a little freshman. I'm gonna run you over next time I see you at practice." So
he's talking smack.
Yeah, just talking smack, just being one of those guys. And you see, he hasn't stopped talking since. So that's just who he is.
He's still doing commentary.
Yeah, still does commentaries. Really good guy though. Yeah. But he was a natural born leader, good guy. So we developed a good relationship.
Awesome. And so your college career ends. You move on to the NFL.
Yep.
Tell us about that experience.
Well, that experience is not as controlled. So that's the crazy part about the NFL is there's 30, 31, 32 teams. You have no idea where you're going. You run, jump, test, do written things, all kind of stuff that they're trying to figure out if you're the right person for the team. So you're doing all this stuff. You have no idea who's going to pick you. So it's a little bit more stressful than the recruiting part of going to college because you get to pick the college. Right, you get to go.
You get the pick of the teams that want you.
Correct.
You get to pick, right? But
yes.
Here in the NFL,
you have no choice.
It's just
So you have no idea where you're going. I just knew because I was a Southern California kid. I spent so much time out here that I was going to go somewhere cold. I just knew what happened. I mean, you're talking. We have the Chargers. I could have played for the 49ers. I could have been in Arizona or somewhere. But I was drafted by the Chicago Bears, so in the Midwest.
They were great back then, right?
No, they were not.
That's a joke.
No, they were not. So it was a changing of the guards, but Chicago has always been kind of a legendary sports town, right? Some of the older, the Jim McMahons. I mean, that 85 Bears defense to those guys. But at that point, it was a transition. Dick Geron had just been named the head coach. They drafted, I think that year in the draft, there was 15 guys drafted. So it was going to be a big change. So I ended up going there. So I spent pretty much the off season there because I didn't make the team, unfortunately. But I did spend my whole off season there trying to make the team, developing those relationships and really trying to identify what is the NFL like? What is it about? How do I make a team? How do I study a playbook? Along with, I'm playing alongside guys that have wives and kids and 401ks and businesses. And, so it was a, I wouldn't say a culture shock, but it definitely changed the way I viewed the game.
You grow up real quick.
Yeah. It's not a game anymore. It's a business.
It's a business.
Yeah.
So, so you're a rookie, you get cut, then what?
So funny story, rookie is final cut downs. I'm enjoying myself. I'm thinking I made the team. I get a phone call from the GM. He wants to see me in the office.
Did you know at that time?
I had no idea I was being cut. I'm still young, naive. I had no idea that I'm about to get cut. And I go and I'm speaking to him and he's telling me, hey, you did really good, on special teams. You did good when we put you in a game and all those things. And I'm waiting for him to just say something of like, because I wanted to change my number. I was wearing number 35, which I thought was a terrible number. So I wanted to change my number. So I thought he was going to get into that. But he says, unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go.
Oh.
And that's when kind of everything just paused and it stops. And you go, really? This is happening? Me getting cut? Like you'd never think it'll happen to you.
Right.
It's like getting fired from a job where you feel like you're doing really well.
Well, because you've been an elite athlete your entire life.
Correct.
And this is a team telling you, no, we don't want you.
Correct.
Wow. That must have hurt.
It did. So I even called my dad. I remember calling my dad. I stepped out of the office afterwards. I called my dad. People forget too, like during this time, I really thought I made the team. So I'm searching for an apartment. I have my car been shipped. You name it. I'm doing all these things as if I'm all in. And so I got the phone call, went in, talked to it, but it's part of the business. That lets you know, right there. I'm kind of glad it happened early in the career because it kind of set it up to know that it's a business and it can happen, just like that.
Right.
So I'm thankful for that.
So, but you found your way.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that happen?
So what ends up happening is after it's all said and done, teams can put in claims for you. So the Philadelphia Eagles, a few other teams, I can't remember, some other teams put in claims for me. And then they give you your rights. They give you over to the worst team. Whoever had the worst record, they get to get all the players when they, come off waivers. So that's one of the, little known things that people do because they want to create parity in the NFL. So they don't want to send good players to a good team and make that team better. They want to say, hey, let's help these guys. So if they put in a request, they get them first. So that team happened to be the Philadelphia Eagles.
No kidding.
So I guess they were coming off a pretty bad year, 3-13 the year before. New head coach, some guy named Andy Reid.
Yeah, I heard he was a real terrible coach.
Yeah, so it was.
You couldn't get a break, Rashard.
Right, I couldn't get a break. I go from which is crazy because Dick Duran and Andy Reid had worked together, I believe, on the Green Bay staff.
Interesting.
So maybe they talked. I don't know. Maybe
could have. Yeah, he probably said, I got this guy.
Yeah. So
he's a great water boy.
Exactly.
So you end up playing for Andy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, who was on the team?
So if you go back, I guess the stars of that team on the offensive side, Donovan McNabb at quarterback, Deuce Staley, tremendous running back. On the defensive side, Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins, Jeremiah Trotter, Troy Vincent, who's, he's very high up in the NFL right now, Bobby Taylor. So it was a really, I think the team and the coaching staff, when I look back, could be probably one of the better teams I've ever been a part of, especially the coaching staff. A lot of guys went on to be head coaches and are still like prevalent coaches today, which is 20 years later.
Look at Andy Reid.
Yeah. Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Leslie Frazier, Sean McDermott was there as well. He's head coach of the Bills. So a lot of guys, and I got to see them kind of in their early stages as they're developing as position coaches and eventually work their way up to being head coaches. So it was actually pretty good to see.
So how long did you play?
5 years.
5 years.
Played 5 years.
So your 5 years, your illustrious career, playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, which, I actually lived in Philadelphia when I was a kid for about 18 months.
Wow.
My family's from Philly, so we've got a close tie to the Eagles. And so 5 years, how did it come to an end?
Well, NFL stands for not for long, right? So it's the same thing. You never really go out on your own terms. So I ended up having an injury that just kind of got worse over time.
Yeah.
It wasn't one particular thing or I ran down and this happened. It was just over a period of time, my knees just started to wear down. The cartilage in between the joints started to wear down. So did a crazy procedure during that time. It was the doctor for the Denver Broncos. He actually did it. He was kind of revolutionary in doing this surgery. It's called microfracture. So I did a microfracture surgery. Same thing Terrell Davis had and a lot of guys had, later, but it became very popular. So they try to do it, tap the bones, it bleeds, it regenerates cartilage. So that was one of the things that just kind of stopped me. It was good enough to come back, but it was hard to keep playing. So I just didn't have it. So that was kind of the end of the career. So it was kind of a slow demise. It wasn't a boom, one play, gruesome injury, and then now you're done. It was have a surgery, try to come back, see if it works, and just never really made it back from there.
So there was a point in time.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where you're like, if I don't get picked up, then it's over.
Yeah.
Like, tell us about that. Well, like, what was that like for you, knowing that you played football your entire life, from a little kid through high school, full ride USC, getting cut at the Bears, playing for the Eagles, getting injured, trying to work your way back. And then you consciously made a decision, like, I have a cutoff date.
Yeah, I had to. It was one of those things that it was going to keep bothering me. And if you understand what it takes to make it in the NFL, the dedication, the time, the commitment, you can't work a full-time job and play in the NFL. You can't halfway do it and play in the NFL. You have to be all in. And I could only be all in for a certain point. I was either going to make it, in the NFL again, or I had to have a drop dead date so I don't just keep going through the same cycle and waiting to get picked up. I think that was the biggest thing. We talk about this all the time, where a lot of guys end up broke after leaving the NFL. It's not because they were not good with their money. It's like they try to chase the dream too long, right? So they don't work. You don't work for a couple years. You're still chasing the dream.
And that costs
money.
Who's
going to finance it, right?
So you're personally financing
exactly.
Trainers, what else? Nutrition.
Yep. Every single thing you have to finance.
Your travel.
Right? Travel. They'll fly you out to do workouts and everything, but people don't realize in the off season, you don't make money. You get $100 a day to train with the team. That's just what it is.
That doesn't cover your meals.
They'll feed you breakfast and lunch, but dinner's on your own. So that's probably covering dinner. Remember, you have rent, you have mortgage, you have kids, you have family. So it's a lot of things. So I just created a date that I just wrote down and said, if I'm not signed to a team by this point, then I'm closing that chapter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later.
When I decide I'm done, I get a phone call almost in the middle of the night from one of my former coaches. And it's kind of crazy because it did test to see if
you were committed,
if I was committed to what I said. But I'd already stopped training. I'd already decided that day is come and gone. I wasn't signed, so I turned it down. I know people might think I'm crazy, but I respect the game too much for the time and effort that it takes to do it and to do it the right way. And then plus at that point, I didn't feel like it was going to be sustainable, right? My body wouldn't hold up.
Right.
And because I went through all the different stuff. I went through the tryouts.
Yeah, you're going to have prolonging the inevitable.
Correct. Yep.
So you made the decision. You made the tough decision. Mm-hmm. And, so you're a smart guy, USC grad, right? You got that diploma on the wall. You had a plan, right? You knew exactly what you're going to do when you got out of the NFL.
I had no idea. In my mind, I remember in my mind, my parents did foster care for, 20 years. Since we moved to San Diego, we did foster care. So my wife, she was a psychology major at San Diego State. We kind of linked up. We talked about that. We talked about doing group homes, right? We wanted to help, foster kids at risk, something like that. But that's not a business. That's not really a plan. Right. That's more helping people. But as far as at that point where I have a wife and kids and a mortgage and car notes and expenses, that wasn't going to cut it. So I really didn't have any idea what I was going to do next. Kind of ventured into some stuff. One of my former teammates was in the mortgage industry. I went up and would drive up to Newport Beach, from San Diego.
A little over an hour drive.
Every day. Get my feet wet, see what's going on, see if I like that industry. And kind of like it. It was good, but the drive was getting hectic with little kids. So I wanted to stay local. So that's when I kind of ventured into doing my own real estate brokerage and doing my own loans. And
so you're hustling. You're hustling. You got to feed the family.
Exactly.
Kind of building your own business.
Correct.
Right. And then what happens?
then of course the market crashed.
Of course it did.
Right? So everything went
God
sideways.
is testing you,
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, the market crashed. I mean, you go back, the housing crisis that we had, I think it was at 2007, 2008. It was bad. I mean, nothing was selling. Every listing that I had was a short sale, a bank-owned foreclosure.
Oh,
I mean, multiple
how
offers.
depressing.
Yeah, it was just, in some of these cases, it was my friends. You know, so that's even worse. You know, now you're dealing with your friends. You see them. They were trying to, you know, set their families up, and they're buying real estate, which is the right thing to do. I'm in my late 20s. That's when, you know, people were starting to buy homes. And yeah, I'm working on bank-owned foreclosures, REOs, and homes boarded up, and going to some of these places. It was really depressing to see, because you could see the frustration with people when they buy their dream home. And then when they can't afford to keep it, and the banks didn't have the ability to work with them. I mean, they're ripping out granite countertops and barbecue pits and yanking TVs off the wall, and chandeliers are coming off the walls. And you can see they were just trying to hold on to something of what they worked so hard to kind of, you know, build for their family. So it definitely was kind of a depressing time to see that. And it kind of, you know, was hard to kind of create a business that's sustainable for the family, you know, with something that's so kind of up and down and cyclical like that real estate market. So,
but that springboarded you into a real estate career with a big real estate company.
Correct.
Right.
So yeah, so I transitioned from going more residential, mom and pop, first time home buyers, to now working with this big corporate company that's in almost every state in the US. So traveling all over the United States of America, working with athletes and their financial advisors, kind of advising them on where real estate fits in the portfolio. So that was a really good, it was kind of a good entry into like the corporate America, the structure, and how cutthroat it can be, and how tiring it can be as well with travel and really not having a set schedule. Like I would get a phone call and say, hey, could you go meet someone tomorrow in Florida? And you'll book a flight.
And you're on a plane.
And you're on a plane. You get up and you go. But it's kind of like the NFL is. You just do what you have to do. I'm used to working hard. Kept me busy. But it took, you know, what it did do is it took a lot of time away from the family.
Right.
Especially young kids. You know, at that point, that was on kid number 4. Right. So 4 boys, you know, flying all over the country. My
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
You didn't know that at the time, I'm sure.
Exactly. Didn't know that. That's fast forward. We're going to get to number 5. But we, you know, traveling all over the country. And you know, it kind of brought me back to when I was younger, my father working overseas. You know, when you're missing your father and all that stuff, and leaving the wife at home. It's kind of very similar to military families, what they go through, where, you know, the father is traveling. So I kind of was looking for something a little bit different, didn't have no idea what I'm going to do next. And so, you know, it was a great, great opportunity to learn a lot about real estate from the top down.
So not only learning about real estate, you're also interacting with financial advisors.
Correct.
And so what was it about that interaction with financial advisors that piqued your interest into actually becoming one?
Yeah, it's funny because I actually enjoyed the conversations with the financial advisors, talking about the product, how it fits in a client's portfolio, and then how they would always craft ideas and solutions to come up, and they knew which product or which investment fit for their clients. So it was kind of like a problem solving thing. So it's just something about problem solving that I enjoyed, right? So they would meet with their clients and they go over the portfolio, and they would say, well, you need to add this to the portfolio for, you know, whatever reasons. But it was the relationship that they had with their clients that I thought was pretty nice. And I wanted to find something that
the trust
that I can kind of replicate. Yeah.
The trust that you can see in the relationship.
Yeah.
And that's how we met.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
so exactly. Someone
introduced us.
They introduced us. If you want to get into financial advice or be a financial advisor, you need to call my guy. You need to call.
And I know he's watching the show right now. So
he is. He knows who he is.
He knows who he is. He does.
So he did the warm introduction. It took me, I don't know how many times. We had to reschedule a couple times though.
Well,
You're a busy man.
Well, no, you're You're the Rashard Cook, who Philadelphia Eagle. Actually, I don't even remember the details of
It was.
all
It was
that,
a couple times I was trying to meet with you. And, but that's when I think you were still, managing clients day to day.
I was juggling
and still
a lot.
managing the business.
That was, What
radio,
year was it? It was 20.
This is 2011.
11? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So go back and watch episode 1, and you'll know what was going on in 2011. I think I got a pass, bro.
Right. So it was that we were juggling, trying to get in, trying to meet, and finally when we met, the synergy was there. It's like definitely. And I think it was like January of 2011, I believe, is when I first started here.
Yeah. Wow.
Time flies.
And we got some good stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we hop on a plane to Houston, and we have an office. We had an office out there at the time. We still got a bunch of clients out there, just not a physical location these days. It was, with COVID and everything, clients just appreciate the virtual meeting. But so we hop out there. What did we get? Like big old SUV?
Yeah, because it was rain. Remember, there was rain in the forecast. We were saying we don't want to get stuck out there. We've already heard it before where they get these bad thunderstorms and everything's stuck. So you rented the SUV and we go to the office and start doing our meetings and everything. Yeah.
And I forget who the client was, but she's like, "You guys are just like that TV show, the one on HBO, the one called Ballers." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks." So I'm obviously Dwayne The Rock Johnson, right? No, that's this guy.
That's me.
So I'm the goofy guy, Joe.
There you go.
So you're Spencer Strassmore, and I'm just Joe.
I like that better.
Yeah, well, you kind of look like Spencer Strassmore. But anyway, those are some good times.
Yeah, because it was kind of funny because we have our California look. Like I didn't realize that we have a California look.
Yeah,
we had our blazers on and
we were not
suits.
We didn't have our cowboy boots and our hats on. That's for sure.
No, they chaps. Came in very casual.
Yeah, we're all dressed
very humble, and we're dressed nice because that's what we're just used to, and just especially with your father. I mean, we actually were. We weren't even as dressed up as we typically are. I mean, it was no suit and tie.
No, I didn't think we were wearing a tie. We were just
like blazer,
sport coat or whatever.
Yeah, like a nice sport coat and a shirt and some nice shoes and maybe some nice jeans or something. But they thought we were like really overdressed.
We were, we were. But those are some good old times there. I miss those days. I get to work alongside a great financial advisor like you with helping our clients. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure we can probably sit here for a while and just tell old war stories. But maybe we'll do a behind the scenes. You can go to my newsletter at rayluciajr.com.
The other problem we had with Houston was what? The food.
Oh,
it was the food. It was too much food.
Well, I mean, they know how to eat out there.
Yes.
What was that steakhouse? Was it called Perry's?
Perry's Steakhouse.
Perry's,
with the big pork chop.
The pork chop.
Yeah.
I can't believe you remember that. Hey, Perry's want to sponsor the show? Let me know.
Right.
That pork chop is amazing.
Yeah.
And we did like a client event too.
We did a client event. I think we did that at Del Frisco's.
That was at Del Frisco's.
Del Frisco's Steakhouse at the Galleria. Yeah.
Galleria.
So we got all our clients out there. I thought
making me hungry. Event.
I think we had Mark Scalzo fly out as well, right? He talked about the portfolios and changes he making. So it's always good to do that stuff. I think they really appreciate it because they got a chance to speak to the high level portfolio managers. They're talking to executives and then they're talking to me, their financial advisor who kind of meet with them directly.
They'd much rather talk to you, trust me, because and Mark Scalzo was on a earlier episode. I love Mark too, but I wouldn't want to talk to me or Mark if I had an opportunity to talk to this guy. So Rashard, so you call me up. I don't know if you know this story, but here I am. I'm upstairs at my house in my beautiful cigar lounge. You guys watch the episode. I like bourbon and an occasional cigar, maybe once or twice a day. No, I'm teasing. So celebrating my birthday, and I'm smoking cigars, and I get this phone call. It's 9:30 at night. It's Rashard Cook. Holy crap! Rashard's calling me and wish me happy birthday. Hey guys, hold on real quick. I answer the phone. Hey Rashard. Hey man, what's up? What can I do for you? Oh, hey Junior. I need to tell you something. I need to tell you tonight because tomorrow the word's going to get out, and I just want to make sure that you hear it from me first. I'm like, oh, shoot, man. Everything okay? Oh, no, Junior. Everything's great. It's great. But, I didn't even want it to happen, but it happened. I'm like, dude, just spit it out. Like, what happened? Well, I've been kind of part-time, assistant coaching football at this Catholic, school, inferior to the university. Sorry, that was my alma mater, University of San Diego High School, Cathedral Catholic. Inferior to the Cathedral Catholic. No, I'm teasing. He didn't say that. This other Catholic high school for a while, and I didn't even want to put my name in the hat, but they need a new head coach. And I just I had no idea I'd even get the opportunity. They called me up. You remember this?
Yeah.
They called me up and they said I got the job.
So I didn't know what to do at that point.
So he's like, but I'm a financial advisor. But I love coaching. I love football. It's a great opportunity. So I accepted. And I wanted you to hear from me first before you saw it on all social media and on TV and everything, because it's kind of a big deal. And I went, wow, Rashard. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Right? Congratulations. Yeah. That's fantastic. Cathedral's still going to kick your ass, but no, I didn't say that either. I was thinking it though. And I'm like, is there anything else you want to say to me before we hang up? And I'm thinking, oh yeah, happy birthday, Junior.
I had no idea. And
he's like,
birthday. I'm so sorry.
He's like, no, that's it, man. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Click. It's like, what? I never told you this before.
No, I didn't know it was your birthday.
It was
all
my
I know
birthday.
is I called up Joe Lucia. I called up Joe. I was like, hey, Joe, man, he was out somewhere too. And I was just calling him. I was like, hey, man, I think I just ran into a situation. I might have bit off more than I can chew. Put my name in a hat for the job, and I got it.
Yeah.
And he goes, wow, that's great. Congratulations. I was like, man, that went easy. And then he goes, hey, do this. Give Ray Jr. a call. Just let him know. And I was kind of like hesitant. I was like kind of nervous, right? Like, what is he going to say? How are you going to do both? What are you going to do? What's going to happen to the clients? And then I go and I call him. He's like, hey, man, congrats. That's great. But it kind of goes back to kind of you guys, your background in sports. You have kids in sports.
I do.
You understand what sports brings and what it does and the role that it plays in a lot of people's lives.
Very important.
So that was very comforting for me. I told my wife, I was like, they were more excited about it than I was. I thought they would be like, hey, how's this going to work? But that kind of put me at ease of knowing that I had the support.
Well, my grandfather was a football coach. He coached at the high school level, coached actually at the collegiate level too. And and growing up, I watched how just the people in the community knew of my grandfather. Right. How and the impact that he had on their lives. Right. From football. Right. The discipline that it teaches these young boys. Right. And then they grow up to become men and they raise families. And guess what? And their kids end up going through sports too, because they had a great experience. Right. And so I was so proud of you to hear that you ventured into coaching, knowing your passion for football, obviously, but what it's going to mean to these young kids. And, hey, Cathedral, if you're watching, maybe we can pick up a coach over here. Sorry, Doyle's. I mean, he's been there forever. He's been like the head football coach.
I don't know how many years he's been there,
dude. Since I went to high school, I don't think he was a head football coach,
right? But he's been around.
He's been there since I was there. Yeah, and
no, he's a good coach, and
maybe we can recruit you over
program.
There. But if anyone ever accuses me of donating to your football team, I swear I didn't do it. Okay,
I have proof.
I'm a sucker. But I love supporting kids and sports. So high school football, right? So here you are, you're a financial advisor, right? And now you're also a high school football coach. Right. Like, how do you draw some parallels to that? How do you manage it?
It's funny,
how do you think about that?
I think it's funny. It's the same thing. It's like coaching. We call coaching, right? When you're coaching football, everyone has a coach. We talked about this before. The greatest players who ever play the game have a coach at some point in their life. I mean, whether they listen to them or not is completely on them. Eli Manning, Peyton Manning. I mean, you name it. Tom Brady. Anybody you name that play the sport has a coach. And I feel like it's the same thing when it comes to the financial planning. A lot of our people are very successful business people. They've done really well with their finances. They're excellent parents, grandparents, but they also need coaching because this is something that they don't do every single day. They've did a good job of being disciplined and saving money, but now they come to me, a younger person, for advice on what to do with their money. So it's kind of, that's the parallel is, I think the difference is when I'm dealing with high school athletes, they're, considerably younger now as we're getting older. But I'm right in the middle when it comes to giving advice to the other generation, some of the older people that I actually sometimes deal with. So
so you look at coaching and delivering advice kind of in the same thing,
correct?
Right, where you're bringing your knowledge and expertise to the table to help better someone else's life,
correct?
Right, whether it be in sports or in their financial life,
right?
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
And my approach is some of the best coaches that I had were teachers. They weren't yellers, screamers. Every now and then I might yell.
Yeah.
Every now and then, you get a bad call or something like that. But typically when it comes to the kids, I'm typically trying to teach. And it's the same thing with clients. We want to teach. We want to teach them how to invest their money. When they come and they have a problem, we're here to provide solutions. That's what they look to us for is for solutions. So.
Yeah. For me, it was like the best coach knew how to read the kid.
Right.
And if that kid needed a nice, soft, gentle, kind of tap on the ass, right, just to get him motivated, that's fine. Another kid might need to be yelled and screamed in the face to wake them up, right? So, and I'm obviously talking to extremes here, but figuring out how that athlete would receive the information or for them to absorb it and then better their life. And I imagine it's similar to clients. Not that you're yelling at clients ever.
No, but you do have to have tough conversation with clients, right? You've done that before. Yeah. You've been in the financial advising world. We have people who live well beyond their means, and you got to have a tough conversation with them, even to the point where I know myself and other financial advisors, hey, I need you to sign this paperwork that's saying that you are going to do everything the opposite of what I'm telling you to do, right? So, when they want to go and they want to maybe start a business or they want to help their kids out a little bit too much or buy a house that's above their means, we have to have those tough conversations with them. And we have to kind of package it in a way where it's a little bit more authoritative in a sense, even though it's not my money, right? It's their money. They worked hard for it, but I'm trying to tell them how that's going to impact the future.
But that's what they're paying you for.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And I can speak from, experience is not all advisors are even equipped to have those tough conversations.
Correct.
They just avoid it because it's easy, and so I commend you on that. I mean, it's in many ways, there's really no training for that.
No.
Right.
Well, I learned from some of the senior guys, but I learned from your father. I learned from Rick Plum. I learned from Chris Lloyd. Those are the guys, and we have our monthly and weekly meetings where we're talking about that, where I didn't know what to say in that situation. Those guys are saying, hey, here's what I do. I tell a client flat out, I don't beat around the bush. I just tell them, you're going to run out of money if you keep doing what you're doing. And if you're not going to listen, then maybe you shouldn't be a client.
Right.
And those are the tough conversations that you have to have. And I think after it's all said and done, you feel better as the advisor. And I think the client feels better as well. At least they know you have their best interests in mind. You're not just selling them on a dream.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I've looked at it. But it definitely wasn't something that came easy, like trying to tell someone who's older than me what to do with their money, right? So that's tough. But definitely with the support of the team and the training that we get here, you start having those conversations.
Well, I'm sure your background as an athlete too helped you along the way.
I agree. I mean, coaches would tell you stuff you don't want to hear. Right. I was told before I wasn't good enough.
And look at you.
And that hurts.
Heck yeah.
That hurts. A coach, you get cut, you're said you're not good enough, right? So you can either say I'm not good enough at this moment in time and I'm going to get better, or I'm just not good enough and I'm going to quit, right? So you have a choice to make. So I think that's definitely one of the things that I took positive from the NFL is it's pretty cutthroat and they're pretty straightforward. They don't beat around the bush. There's no big song and dance. When it's time to go, when you're cut, they'll ask you, it's a joke we always say, do you want a window or an aisle seat on the plane? That's your only options. There's no talking, having conversations. Do you want a window or an aisle, and what airport do you want to go to?
Wow.
Pretty cutthroat.
that's straight up. So, reflecting back, right? So here you are, you're a head coach now of a high school football team, a great high school, modern day here in San Diego. In order to achieve what you've done, right? I mean, literally it's like less than 1% of all kids growing up make it to the NFL, right? You got to be a leader.
Right.
And I consider you a leader. And now you have an opportunity to share some of your leadership wisdom as a head coach, right? Yeah. You're doing it every day with your financial clients, right? But now as a head coach, and so what are like some of your leadership lessons that you've learned along the way that you apply to coaching and to your financial advisory business?
I think it's so funny because a lot of that stuff comes from like within your household growing up. Like my father would always say, how you do anything is how you do everything. And then now I'm starting to hear my kids say it. So I think first of all, it's being a leader in your household, leading yourself, putting yourself in good situations before you can lead others. I think I'm more of a lead by example. But I think it creates a unique opportunity to kind of see that on display when now, I'm responsible for 100 kids in a program, and all the households that I'm also responsible for as well, of communicating information when things are going good and when they're going bad, in the financial markets, and having those tough conversations like we talked about, but also being there during that time period where the client calls up and said, hey, remember we talked about retirement? Well, it's right around the corner, and I gave my, 30-day notice, right? So I think leadership is kind of leading them through all those different times. It's not going to always be good. Life is not always fair like we always think it is. So I think is kind of navigating through all the difficult times so that, when the good times do come around, you can kind of celebrate and look back and be like, see, all that other stuff we was worried about, it's fine. We made it. We're here. You're in retirement, or whatever it is with the football team, right? We lost a couple games early, played some really good teams. We get to see where we are. Now you go and you win some games and you go try to make a run and win a championship. You look back when it's always smooth and there's no kind of obstacles. I don't think you appreciate it as much, but I think that's the biggest thing now is those two parallels is just kind of going through and letting things play out, but leading them through the difficult times and also being there during the good times. That's
some great wisdom, man. Love that. It's almost like I'm listening to my dad talk to me when I was growing up, leading the household first. I know you're a family man.
Right.
I mean, I know it's important for you, for people to take away from this. And we try to do these interviews so that people take one nugget away. Right. And, I know you wanted them to take away that, hey, you're a family man first.
Correct.
So, you now have, obviously your beautiful wife, Joy, you get the 5 kids, right? Who are, they're coming of age.
Yes.
Right. I mean, yes. I know my daughter's going to be 16 this year.
Yeah.
A couple more years. I'm an empty nester. We only did 2.
Yeah.
So, but you have a few more years.
Yeah. But, I have twins. The twins are 20 now, 20 years old. My other son is turning 18 in a couple days.
Oh my gosh.
And then we have 16, and then my daughter's 13. So we have a few more years before we empty nesters.
So if anyone's wondering why Rashard doesn't have any hair,
that's the reason why.
That's 100%. The reason why. So here we go. We're wrapping it up, Rashard. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on in your life, lots of exciting things. Yes. So what's next for Rashard Cook?
I think what's next is, I think it's good to carve your own path. So I've kind of carved my path into financial services and into coaching. But the next strategic move that I want to make is working with more of those guys, especially in this NIL era of college football. It's blowing up. It's crazy. Kids are making tons of money in college. I kind of want to be a part of that as far as helping them navigate that environment.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot going on. And they're very young, 17, 18-year-old kids.
Yeah, these are kids that barely know how to play ball, let alone manage money.
Right. Managing money. There's 1099 stuff. There's W-2 stuff that's coming down. NCAA might start treating them as employees. So there's a lot of stuff that would be fast forward, 5-6 years down the line for only NFL players. Now it's college players. So getting out in front of that, that's something I want to work on strategically with some partners that I'm working with right now. And then also some of those guys, I mean, you see the contracts in the NFL. I think when I was playing, the salary cap, the most they can pay a full team was, 65, 70 million. Pretty soon guys will be making that a year. Just one guy will make that in 1 year.
That's insane.
It's going to get to that point. A quarterback or left tackle or wide receiver would make $60, $70 million a year, probably in the next 5 to 10 years. So working strategically with some guys on that, trying to help out. I think the biggest thing of why I'm passionate about that is, we talked about it before, is my dream was always to play in the NFL. And I want that to stay a dream, right? So when I look back, I want to have fond memories of playing in the NFL, playing with these, tremendous guys that went on to be great fathers and leaders and things. I didn't want to have the scars and the nightmares of financial advisor took off with my money, or I invested in this project and it went belly up, or I lost my house and went through a divorce and filed bankruptcy 2 to 3 times. So the biggest thing I want to do is, and I always thought about it this way, is I want to keep it as a dream. I don't want it to turn into a nightmare. And that's where I'm starting to see a lot of guys need help with that, because they talk bad about the NFL after it's all said and done, but the NFL provided tremendous opportunities, but they didn't maximize on it. They didn't have the right people in their corner to help them out. They didn't have, maybe family was pulling against them as well, taking money or leading them to bad investments. So now it's an opportunity for me, older, wiser, been there, done that, to kind of create an environment and trying to walk them through kind of what life is going to look like after the NFL.
Right, because you've been there.
Because I'm living it right now. This is what it looks like. Right.
So to create a positive experience for all these young boys.
That's correct.
From the beginning to the middle to the end of their career, whether it be in money, business, and life.
Correct. 100%.
Nice job, Rashard. And folks, that is the man, the myth, the legend, Rashard Cook. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
What an unbelievable interview. Thank you. I'm so honored.
Had fun.